Cities Skylines II has so much going on that it's easy for players to overlook some of the small things the game has to offer, so I've compiled 80 tips and tricks to help beginners navigate through their first city building experiences and make the most of the game right from the start. Before you start, it can be a nice idea to open the map that you've chosen using Unlock All so that you can see where the raw resources are in order to plan your city better. Bear in mind you won't be able to see raw resources until milestone 3, so it might be that by then you've already zoned over some valuable fertile land. You can toggle between European and North American tree types no matter what map theme you're playing on. Although some are the same between the two themes, you will find a few different ones to help add even more variety to your city. Getting perfect grids in Cities Skylines 2 can be pretty difficult. You'll often find lots of broken zones even when snapping to that perfect 90-degree angle. To overcome this and build perfect grids, turn off snapping to guidelines and snapping to building edge, and you'll find it much easier to get that perfect grid to zone within. You can buy electricity from outside connections right from the start by simply placing a transformer and connecting it to the outside power connection with power lines. No need to smack down a huge expensive power plant until you can afford it. Although if your map has the capacity for wind power, placing 2 of those and exporting the excess via a transformer to the outside connection will generate you an income right off the bat. Some of the info views can get pretty bright, to say the least, so when you're in them, press I on your keyboard to get rid of the endless white and see what the hell you're doing. And along those lines, you can set up all your own hotkeys in the input settings menu. The most useful defaults I would flag are B for bulldoze, space to pause or start time, and the little symbol in the top left of your keyboard, I think it's called a backtick, to hide the UI. Don't be tempted to place a garbage dump as soon as you unlock it. Garbage will be exported to outside connections and the dump is very expensive to run at the start. This only really becomes a problem later on in the game, so if you're struggling for money, just go without one for a bit and you'll be absolutely fine. Education is really important to generate high density demand and satisfy the highly educated workplaces, and it takes months in-game for Sims to progress through the education system. Therefore, focus on getting a primary school, a high school and a college into your city really early on to allow the Sims to progress through the system and enable you to have more demand for higher density zones and satisfy all your workplaces later on. Sims pay rent based on the physical size of their lot, so try zoning in a variety of zone sizes to satisfy all levels of wealth. If you're struggling from high rent warnings, zoning more smaller lot sizes will help overcome this, along with lowering residential taxes to ensure they can afford their homes. The tree brush has an option to toggle Remove Matching Type. By deselecting this and right-clicking with the brush, you will be able to remove all types of trees and not just the one selected. No matter the theme of your map, you have access to both European and North American signature buildings. So if you want to have that extra variety in your signature buildings, don't forget to zone in both styles. Many of the signature buildings require a lot of level 5 buildings of each type, so it can take a long time in game to unlock. Starting early will help achieve these unlocks more easily. It is possible to spam your way through milestones by plopping in multiple service buildings, so if you're itching to get to another development point and you're close to the next milestone, try plopping a bunch of power plants down and then deleting them once you reach it. Bear in mind though that deleting a building will only give you 75% of the cost back, so you'll need to have the extra budget in your bank in order to afford to do this. Don't be tempted to upgrade your services at the start. Yes, the additions look nice, but until they are actually needed in the city, they will be a huge drain on your budget. Try to plan around the potential future extensions instead. Which leads me on to say that once you've placed a building extension, you cannot remove it without deleting the entire building, and obviously in doing so you will lose 25% of what you paid for it, so place extensions wisely. Use the contour line toggle when placing in roads or networks. Roads do not behave well when placed over bumpy terrain, so by toggling this on you can design your road network around the natural terrain and avoid some of those nasties. When you snap a pedestrian pathway to a road, it forms a crossing. If you don't want the crossing, turn off snapping and place the path close to the road. A connection will still be formed without the addition of a crossing. Electricity lines can be placed underground if you want to avoid some of those unsightly power lines flowing around your city. Simply press page down on your keyboard and the lines will be hidden away underground. Row houses can be a little finicky to zone in how you want. A mass zoned section of grid will generally leave you with some large blank walls where perhaps you don't want them. To get them in perfectly, specifically zone the area you want facing the road you want them to spawn in on, leaving only the corner zones blank. Then fill those in once a house has started to grow next to it. To get a nicer look to corners of row houses, you can leave 2 or 3 squares free at the end of your row and zone those in to face the side of the road. Again, specific zoning here is key. Row houses of only 2 or 3 depth will not have a backyard, whereas anything larger than that will have a backyard, so bear that in mind for your designs. Take it slow. You will progress through the milestones without zoning or placing any buildings. As new citizens arrive into your city and happiness increases, you gain XP. So sit back for a minute, play with the taxes or production lines, or perhaps do some detailing while your city levels up around you. Electricity is carried under roads, however highways do not carry this function. If you want to cross a highway interchange, you'll need to place power lines connecting one side to the other, or if you have road services unlocked, upgrade the highway to include lighting and then they will carry electricity for you. Now this tip should really go unsaid, but please pay attention to water flow and place your sewage pipe downstream from your water extractor to avoid any ugly consequences. Don't rush in to use your development points. Take your time and unlock things you need or want to place right then and there. If you don't use them all immediately, they won't disappear, and stocking them up can help to unlock some of those more expensive functions you might want further down the line. Placing key walls with your roads alongside water edges can be one of the most frustrating things that you do in the game. Constant in the water warnings may make you want to pack up and not bother. The way to get around it is to terraform a layer where the road will sit and terraform a layer underneath it to rid you of the water. Then you can place in your road free of warnings and terraform the lower layer away once it is in. Trees take literal in-game years to grow fully, therefore you might want to consider spamming trees across your map right from the start to minimise the wait time and enable you to have lush forests as soon as you are able. If you're struggling with low-income housing abandoning soon after spawning in, this is because Sims cannot afford to live there. Lower the income of uneducated and poorly educated residential zones and you should see the households filling back up. Transport lines need to be connected to the outside connections of your map to allow intercity travel and trade. Place a stop at the outside of your map and connect that to a station inside your map to get Sims and cargo travelling freely in and out of your city. Bridges can only be placed on straight pieces of road. If you're trying to upgrade a curved road to a bridge, it just won't happen. You'll need to delete the road and draw the bridge in straight. You can add pillars to bridges if you want by simply clicking on the bridge with the same road selected, and pillars will appear in place. Livestock farms and stone quarries do not need ground resources in order to function, so you're free to place these wherever you'd like in your city. All other specialised industry types require ground resources, so careful planning from the start will ensure that you can make the most of the resources you have. As we are now nearing the halfway mark, please do drop a like on the video if you're enjoying it and subscribe to the channel for more Cities Skylines content. For mid and high density assets, the smaller your zone size, the lower the height of the building that will spawn in. You can use this to your advantage to create crawling layers and height within your downtown. The smallest zone size you can get, with the exception of the row houses, are 2x2 assets. You can adjust the strength of your landscaping brush to add small hills or valleys in and around your city. Using a lower strength adds for greater control and will enable you to make more realistic hillsides. You can add a road in parallel to an existing road, or indeed a train line if you so wish, by using the parallel network function. Select the desired network you want to place in and click alongside the guidelines of the existing network to get a perfectly parallel road. Pay attention to the wind direction. Placing a small amount of industry with the wind direction heading over residential won't cause you any issues, but if you place, for example, a coal power plant with the pollution heading over your city, you are going to get some major complaints, and strain on your healthcare system will also increase. In order to get smooth highway slip roads, it is easier to first upgrade the main highway to include the extra lane and then connect the slip road to it. Coming straight out rather than using a curve right away can also lead to some smoother results. You can now assign your services and education buildings to specific districts, and you are not confined to only choosing one district per service building. This is a nice way to ensure your emergency service vehicles, for example, aren't travelling all the way across your city and therefore more readily available to attend any events as needed within each district. You can change the direction of a one-way road by selecting the upgrade tool, then left-clicking and dragging in the direction you want it to go. You can assign transport fees on each line to start making large amounts of cash from your public transit. Go into the Transport Info tab, select the mode of transport and the line you want to change, and then change the fee from here. Pay attention to the City Information tab. This gives you vital information on what is affecting the RCI demands across your city. If your taxes are too high or your happiness too low, you'll easily see this here. Bear in mind any changes you make usually take a few months to affect the simulation and demands, which is especially true when it comes to education. So adjust a few things and then wait before giving up on your strategy. At time of launch, the game doesn't offer you an option to turn off seasons, so if you'd rather not play in snow or rather play on a map which doesn't have so much rain, then pay attention to the map's temperature ranges and most common weather patterns when you choose the map. For example, Barrier Island and Archipelago Haven will not have a snowy season. When upgrading roads, you can turn off snapping to freely move a road to the desired position. This is most useful when creating complex junctions to line up your lanes spot on with micro-precision movements. There is an option in-game to turn off day-night cycle, so if you'd rather not play in the dark, disable this to have endless daytime. You can toggle this on and off as you please, and if you want to suddenly submerge into a nighttime view, use photo mode where you can adjust the time of day freely. When you use the tree brush, trees will randomly rotate within it, but if you're placing them in singularly, you can right-click with your mouse to rotate in place. At major junctions, you can control the direction your cars choose to turn. For example, here you can stop them turning left across traffic and stop them going straight over the junction, nice and simply to keep your traffic flowing freely. All you need for this is to unlock the advanced road services in your development tree, and you'll have access to all of these tools in one go. You can relocate the castle ruins which are present on some maps rather than deleting them, as once deleted you cannot place them back in. Once you've unlocked the relevant tile, select the asset and click relocate to move it to a location of your choice. You can generate retaining walls on your raised roads with a height of anywhere up to 7.5 metres. Anything over this will form a bridge with pillars. Control the height of your roads more closely by changing the elevation step down to the lowest of 1.25 metres. If you're struggling to get your balance out of the red and you're happy with your tax strategy, try adjusting your service fees. This will reduce the cost of running them, but bear in mind it will also reduce the efficiency, which will impact happiness and how well those services operate in your district. Pay attention to contour lines on your map and use terraforming tools like the slope function before placing in your roads. To use the slope function, right-click at the height you want to smooth to and then left-click and drag from the other end of the slope. When placing in durable industry areas, you can turn off snap to road to place the areas close to but not immediately against a road. This will allow a small tree line or other details, for example, if you wanted to put those in. To get industry areas in nice and smoothly next to a curved road, move along the roadside in small increments when placing in your district area. When placing specialised industry areas on bumpy terrain, some of the buildings may spawn in and flatten your terrain. To improve the look of this, level the terrain around the building to the same height, then use a low brush strength to smooth off the edges around it. You can remove pedestrian crossings at intersections by right-clicking whilst on the road services crossing function. This will stop pedestrians from crossing and remove the crossing decal and allow your traffic to flow more freely. When you first choose a map, the only impact the North American or European themes have is the style of the roads and emergency services vehicles on the map, which you will not be able to change later in your game. Once in the game, you can freely move between the North American and European zoning styles as you please, so take the time to consider the style of roads and vehicles you want before you start. Forestry specialised industry needs mature trees to maximise efficiency, so pick an area you want to use for this early on. Spam in some trees and allow them time to mature before placing in your forestry area. Or, of course, choose an area on the map which already has some mature trees. Bus depots have a limit on the capacity of vehicles they can send out. Pay attention to this and add extensions when needed, as some of your lines may find themselves with no buses or not enough buses to service passengers. You can change the parking fee on parking lots individually. If you want to encourage people to park in the lots and not on the roads, try lowering the fee within the lots and apply the roadside parking fee district policy, where you can adjust the fee up to the maximum to discourage on-street parking. Alternatively, you can use the road surfaces tool to get rid of on-street parking altogether by adding grass, concrete or tree-lined strips to your roads. And don't forget, you can add trees and grass collectively if you wanted to. To get a dense forest look, turn your tree brush strength up to 100%, then start with the largest tree type you'd like to use. Follow this up with at least 3 other small tree types and you'll end up with a dense, realistic looking forest. Roundabouts will automatically adjust the number of lanes needed as you add in larger road connections to them, so no need to worry about upgrading them as you go. Ensure you have adequate transport or cargo options from your specialised industry to your zoned industry areas to make sure that materials are transferred smoothly and help that production chain work more efficiently. You can click and drag road upgrades to avoid having to click every segment individually. On roads with medians, you can choose whether the upgrade changes the median or the outer edges of your road by hovering over each. If you place a parking lot or service building on a medium road, then upgrade the road to a small one block away. The building will stay connected and you'll get longer entrances into it. And you also end up with a border around some, which you can add some trees or bushes to. Shipping lanes for harbours need to be drawn in and connected to the mapped shipping lanes in order to be functional, so when placing in harbours, make sure that you have enough expansion permits to be able to expand towards your shipping lane. If you end up getting annoyed by the constant radio chatter, you can disable and enable the radio ads using the little button in the bottom right of the radio menu, or you can turn the radio off altogether in the audio settings menu. When placing a bridge over a shipping path, it needs to be 50 metres in height at least, so make sure you have enough room to bring the road down to ground height and the appropriate terrain on either side to make the bridges look good. The complex curve function can be a tricky one to get your head around at first, but it is a great way to make a smooth connection between 2 roads which don't line up. For simple use, firstly click on the guideline of the first road, followed by the guideline of the second road, and then connect the roads up. Don't forget to use your heat maps to check things like education levels, unemployment, and move-away rates, land value, air pollution, and very much more. This can help you determine problematic areas or issues in your city very quickly. For example, where happiness is low and more internet coverage or parks may be needed. When placing a building, you can turn off Snap to Road to place it freely anywhere you want, and then use the Snap to Side of Building Road option to provide road access to it. You can control zoning direction by using pathways to block the zoning against the road you don't wish the buildings to spawn on, or alternatively you can draw the road you want zoning on in first, let the building spawn in, and then draw in the connecting road alongside it and your zones won't disappear. If a road is red when you're in the zoning info view, then the zoning type that you're trying to place will not spawn there. Try switching to a different density or a different zone type and pay attention to the colours. You can now stack networks by simply raising the road, train track, whatever network it is that you're wanting to stack, and drawing over an existing road to create some huge built-up urban transit networks. You can place bus and tram stops on raised sections of road, and you can also snap a pathway to these raised sections in order to form easy pedestrian access up to your stops. When placing in bridges using the parallel road function, you'll need to change the default width to at least 2 in order for the bridges to fit in comfortably next to each other. The default of 1 will not work for bridges. When you load up a map, you can go into the map options and choose to toggle disasters on and off as you please. Plus, you can also add Unlock All and Unlimited Money at a later date too, but bear in mind, once you add Unlock All to a save, you will not be able to backtrack on it. Whereas with disasters, you can go in and toggle on and off to your heart's content. Open overpasses can be created on roads by dropping the height to -10 metres, which creates a sunken road with retaining walls, and then you can draw another road straight over it to get your overpass. To get a tunnel, you'll need to go down to -12.5 metres. If you're trying to bulldoze something underground, click the button here to toggle between above ground and overground, or alternatively, hit the page down or page up keys on your keyboard when in bulldoze mode. If you're having trouble aligning roads of different widths, try turning off snap to cell length in the road snapping tools, and then your roads will align perfectly in the middle. Citizens will only be able to take jobs which are applicable to their education level. The Workplaces Info View tab is incredibly useful for telling you how many workplaces you have open at each level. I definitely recommend paying attention to this, and for example, if your highly educated workplaces are almost full, try zoning in more offices to provide more jobs for the highly educated citizens. One really cool use of roundabouts is to plop them at the end of dead-end roads in your residential areas. They act as really nice turnarounds for your cul-de-sacs. And to round this out, if you're struggling with low frame rates, make some adjustments in your graphics settings, disabling depth of field, dynamic resolution, volumetrics, and to a lesser extent clouds and fog, as well as reducing your resolution and reducing the level of detail, all have a notable effect on the frame rate and performance of the game. So try these out and see how much they help. And that completes our 80 tips and tricks. If you've got any additions you want to add, please do drop them in the comments below. Plus don't forget to drop the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you found this useful. And in the meantime, why not check out one of the videos on screen? That's all from me for now. Bye bye.